Okay, so now for the final portion where I'm going to discuss the function of the solenoid, this here, the function of the governor here, and the function of the retainer plate and the sun gear control plate. The sun gear control plate is that one there. Now the retainer, I'm just going to call it the retainer ring or the sun gear ring, sun gear plate ring, control ring, something like that, is actually behind it, so you can't see it right now, but if you watch one of your previous videos on the disassembly and on the reassembly, you will be able to see it. And it's shaped like a C, and then at the top it's got like a horn, sort of horn shaped thing. It's also important to analyze what happens here at the there. Remember, there's a little sort of like a little rectangular thing there. See it there? The solenoid engages this here, and it just pushes it in or out. Okay. Now the solenoid. Let's start with the solenoid first. How you can test it. Here's the solenoid. Now you will have to, and there's an inscription here. See number 6 right there. Hopefully you can see it. See, there you have it, number 6. Sorry, yeah, number 6. And on this one here, where is it? And on the other terminal, you have number 4 right there. Now, in the event that yours is, I don't know. Look, this thing here, it's just like new. It had a lot of garbage and apparently dirt and what looked like rust outside, but it was nothing. And this is, I don't know if this is stainless steel, but it is sure is some sort of really, really strong and durable steel that doesn't rust. So it is highly likely that yours will still have this. But let's say for whatever reason yours doesn't have the numbers, you can see that the number 4 is lower than the number 6. Okay, and now the number 6, one of them, let's suppose I didn't know which one was which. One of them is connected to the point, to a it's called a contact point on top. Therefore, if you try to put electricity through here, remember this is connected to the metal here, to the transmission, which is connected to the engine, which is connected to the ground of the car, which in most cases is the negative. Okay, for 12-volt cars, it's negative. So first thing you should do, you should connect your negative terminal. I like to use a battery charger to test these things. Okay, connect the negative terminal here to any point on the case, and then one of these terminals will be the positive. Now I should show the complete, how this works in another video, but for now, if you open it up, one of these terminals will be connected to a wire that will be connected to the windings on inside here. This is an electromagnet. Therefore, you must put the other terminal, the other wire, the positive wire, to that one. There's no point in you putting, if you put the positive of your electrical source on top of an electrical point, you know, you might either get a short or nothing will happen because it's just touching nothing. In this case, it's actually touching nothing, the electrical point, because it's separate. But I mean, in the event that it is touching, I think it is touching. I think the normal position for it is touching. So basically, if you do that, you'll be shorting this. You'll be touching the case. You'll be touching the positive wire to the case, which will give a shock and a short. But if you touch the one on the wire that goes to the electromagnet inside, then you'll turn the electromagnet on. So, you know, in doubt, just open this up, see which wire goes to the electromagnet, and which terminal goes to the point up here. You'll just connect your wire to the electrical here. Now I might just give you just quick demonstration. I won't be able to, but the advantage of using the battery charge is that it's a low amperage, so it's unlikely that it will damage anything if you fuck something up. But because of the low amperage, you might just have to give it a push, you know, or a pull, you know. It might not come. And this is now all this does, so that we can continue with how this works on the transmission. All this does, it goes forward and backwards, just a little piston, forward and backward, forward and backward. That's all. Now the other terminal, the one with the point, it would be connected to a point here on this device here, the governor. And here you can see two wires. And this is all mechanical, by the way. It's just a set of contact points that open and close mechanically. There's no wires, no nothing in here. Now it is a little tricky because I did sort of disassemble it here. I'm not exactly sure how to reassemble it. There are some weird parts inside. I'll just quickly show you, just so that it's a complete video. Then later on I'll do a complete, more in-depth video on this. So there, I'm just removing the three bolts that hold this cap, this plastic cap, material that I hate, by the way. But these ones, they're sort of like rubberized plastic. They're less worse, if you can say that. There's the contact points there. They're not. Now there's a little metal piece underneath. I'm not really sure what it's for. There's another set of like points here. And apparently the rivet got corroded and it just fell out, so I'm not really sure. I just have to get a new cap, or I don't know. But inside here is what really matters. You'll see there's two blocks here, and as they go outward, they push this pivot upwards. And conversely, on the other way around, if I push this in, it'll bring the blocks in. So this here is connected to the transmission. The transmission is turning it, thereby turning this, which turns these blocks here. Now if it's turning at a slow speed, like that, the blocks will likely remain closed. Okay. And I believe there is a spring that holds them, or not. But anyways, as they're going really fast, you'll see that they spread apart, really spread apart outwardly like that, thereby pushing this cylinder here upwards, this rod here upwards, which pushes the contact points here, and thereby completing the circuit. And it sends energy, sends electricity. This is connected to the number 6 terminal here, which causes, you know, one of the windings to get energized. Now there's 2 windings in that. I'll talk to you guys while I the bolts back here. But there's 2 windings on that electromagnet, that solenoid. One is a bigger one, and the other one is called a hold-in. Just holds electricity in, just holds it in for a little while longer. That's not instantly, so that it's not turning on and off instantly. Just holds it in for a little longer. That's what the manual says. I've opened it up and I had to really clean this out. It was stuck and I had to disassemble it, but I'll show you that in another video. But yeah, you will have to, if yours has been sitting for a long time like mine was. They're very well sealed, by the way. But there's a little hole here. See, that's probably the weak spot. I don't know why that hole's there. I don't know if it's for a wire, but this is the only reason why there was, junk and dirt inside. But I just took these two bolts out, these two on the top, and it slid off fairly easily. I didn't have to tap it with the hammer. But I mean, these you can use a hammer. You don't have to use a rubber hammer, because this thing is heavy and it's thick and it's very hard and very durable. So it's highly unlikely that you'll damage it. Although I did remove the cap and remove this comes out. This little piston, it does come out. Contact points will come out. The two posts here where these nuts are connected, they will come out. One of them unfortunately didn't come out. It's stuck, seized in there. The other one did come out, and you'll have to remove them. But I did work on all this, but I didn't work on the electromagnet side here, so I don't know the condition of the wires in here, and it's not so easy to remove them. Right, but anyway, that's for another video. For now, the main point is this moves in and out, and it goes onto that little square, thing. Let's see what it's called. You see right there, it goes in through this hole and pushes that in and out. Okay, in and out. That's all it does. So for the purposes of understanding how this works, that's all we need for now. How that works separately, that's another video. But basically what this does is at a predetermined speed, those squares will open, close the contact points, and energize this, okay, thereby pulling solenoid in. So the normal position for this is closed as it is now. The normal position is the position that the solenoids and other components occupy when they're not energized. Okay, so for example, spring, when the spring isn't compressed, that's the position, normal position that I referred to. When this is not energized, that's the normal position. Okay, when it is energized, and that's the different position. That's the position it takes when you activate it. Okay, when the spring is compressed or stretched, that's the operating position. The normal position is when everything is at rest, without any force, without any change. Now another thing to note is, there's a you can see there that it's rounded. The reason being so that this shaft, it slides right on top of the little square here. The little square is called the what's the name of the damn thing? It's called a pawl. P-A-W-L, pawl. Another weird name. But it's rounded. It's got a rounded groove on top of it. That's so that it allows this shift rail to move over it. Now the shift rail, when the shift rail is engaged that way, so that, remember, that way, if there's space here, if the center ring is pushed into the pinion cage, the overdrive is disengaged, turned off. So when the overdrive is turned off, it's not possible to push the solenoid the pawl in because the shaft, this shaft here is blocking it. Okay, let me just see if I have something. I'm going to use a drill bit to try to push it in. It will go in a little bit. I'll give you that. Okay, but now when this here, when the shift rail is back, overdrive is engaged, turned on, then this will go in completely. But the thing is, remember those teeth inside? They're not always aligned with the pawl here. So depending on the position, the pawl, even though this is not in the way, it won't engage. In order to engage it, for it to go all the way in and lock this, the sun gear control plate, you have to be in manual transmission mode so that it moves the the sun gear control into a place where the solenoid will engage. So I'll just try to find it here. So you have to put it in manual mode. In manual mode, it'll spin the control plate with it. However, with that being said, remember it doesn't allow this shaft here doesn't allow the gear the pawl to go in further. So I'll put it back in overdrive. See if it'll go in now. I can also move it by hand. See? Now it went in, all the way in. And now it's locked. Now when it is locked, you can still still put it in overdrive. I mean, disable the overdrive. Not sure it's supposed to be that way. I have a feeling like that was supposed to lock it. Might not be able to do it. You see that this has got a lot of play in it right now. That's why it's a little hard to study what's happening here. But once the case is in, then this is going to have no play. But right now, that pawl is in there good. So now the pawl just locks. What it does is it locks the control plate here. The control plate for the sun gear. It doesn't allow it to turn anymore. Now what that does is, remember that when the engine, when we have it in, when we have the transmission in, when we have it in overdrive mode, the sun gear is just completely connected to nothing. It's not connected to this here, so it just stays stationary, and the pinion gauge here and this here and the shaft, they roll along freely. But when we have it in a manual mode, then it's connected. Then the pinion cage now, which is connected to the shaft. So it's now connected. It connects the shaft to the pinion cage, and then to the sun gear, which is connected to that control plate there, which causes it to turn. Now, if I have the pawl engaged, then the control plate will no longer turn. Now, remember how it's shaped, wedge shaped? So it'll lock in one direction, but it will release itself in the other direction. So right now it's locked. If I turn it the other way, it'll unlock because of the wedge. Turn it clockwise again, it'll lock. Now you'll see that because of this, it'll lock the whole transmission. So I'm thinking that this wouldn't normally happen. It's only happening because this thing here is completely loose. Yeah, now the solenoid really went all the way in. Yeah, solenoid, no, the ball, sorry. Look, it's supposed to go that much in. You won't be able to see it anymore, look. You know what, I'm just gonna move the camera down here so you can see it. Give me a minute to adjust the camera stand here. Can you guys see now how the see it there? You can just see the very tip of it. There it is, right at the tip of the drill. See it there? That's just the tip of it. So you can see how further in it is. Now it's locking. So it's locking that pollen, which means that the transmission, the way it is, if it's in manual, will no longer turn in either direction, which would be disastrous if you were able to do this while the car is moving. Imagine the transmission locks. That would ruin